the summer of 2009, the junior high students created this video, capturing the spirit of life at Christ the King Lutheran Church over the past 50 years. They started in a little white house. Well, actually, they started meeting in a bank building, but then found this property and purchased it for $40,000 in 1958. It included a densely wooded area and 2 small houses. They quickly outgrew the little white house, so they picked up the other house and moved it close to the first one, and built a classroom to join them. They outgrew that, and the new sanctuary, which is now the Fellowship Hall, was dedicated in 1962. They outgrew that, and the current sanctuary was built and dedicated in 1987. Our history is a series of groundbreakings, always growing, always looking forward.
I was surprised by how large it was, and then when I went inside, I was amazed by how even larger it was in the sanctuary. And I remember kind of being terrified that I guess I'll be standing up there in that pulpit on a pretty regular basis, preaching in this very big place with lots of people, and feeling very nervous.
This is the biggest Lutheran sanctuary I'd ever seen. And then I saw the altar up on in the sanctuary, and I thought, that is one of the biggest altars I've ever seen. And then I saw Pastor Zagel and Pastor Stevens, and I said, wow, those are 2 of the smallest pastors I've ever seen. I just remember how worshipful and how majestic it all seemed.
A tremendous man of God, and Christ the King grew from the small charter membership that it was in 1959 to, I don't know how many people were here. And I think Pastor Zagel came in 1977 when Pastor Schrader retired.
If there was one word I would use to describe him, it would be shepherd. He was a very good shepherd of his flock. He was unflappable, and that was Pastor Schrader. Unflappable. The word came first.
We'd stand next to sit up in the front aisle with my dad when he was preaching, and it was like a contest to see who could sing the loudest. And on the final hymn, we picked "God of Our Fathers" a lot, and we were all screaming, Mark, my dad, and me, and it was my dad. There wasn't a trumpet playing, so my dad would go bum, 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 up there in the front, and it was just nuts. I remember I'd get to, and I still do that now, I get to, as soon as I sit down, I always go see what the final hymn is. And that's because when I was a kid, I always sat up front with my dad, and when it was God of Our Fathers, he knew it was going to be a good day. So
then Pastor Zagel really grew the congregation. He was a tremendously dynamic man, had so much energy, and just was very outgoing, very friendly, and he didn't meet a stranger.
From a personal sense, this was the happiest he ever was. This church was his whole life.
He was right out of the seminary when he came, and a young guy, which it was second career, but he was still fairly young, and he was just always smiling and always on the go and always coming up with something new to do. And he was a lot of fun and did a lot of great things around here.
A wonderful associate pastor. He brought in a lot of new innovations into Christ the King.
You gonna ask me about the headaches? Do I get to answer that? Is there a question about the headaches?
I don't know if this is a characteristic. He is just so dedicated to the ministry and his people. You see that every day. He's excited about this. He wants to do that. just wants everything to be right, and he wants everybody to be taken care of, and he wants to get the word out.
When I had to be in the dunk tank at the carnival for our school, and the water was cold and dirty, and all day long I had to be dunked over and over again, I thought that I was being punished for my sins on that day. If I only had somebody that I could work with better than the guy I have. Oh, that's your father, isn't it? I'm sorry.
He's a real perfectionist, but it's because he wants that high point of the week, our worship service, to be as good as it can be for us. It's not for him, it's for us.
I like how our services are, for the most part, very well organized and respectful. We all love Jesus Christ and love each other. I love that part.
Like every Sunday, right before, in 7th and 8th grade, right before the service, somebody tapped me on the shoulder, "I need you to acolyte." And I had it down to a science. I, time the, when you extinguish the candle, with my bow, so it would go perfect. I don't know if the congregation ever noticed how much thought I put into it. They didn't appreciate my talent.
Yeah, the paraments caught on fire one time. If you're an acolyte, pay close attention. The acolyte went up and bowed at the altar, and when he or she did, the lighted wick went right into the paraments, and that the starch is extremely flammable, and it just went started on fire. So now we have this burning bush up on the altar. So my dad ran up there and grabbed it and threw it on the floor and was stomping it out.
When we had a light malfunction, we did a transfiguration service, and the lights were going on and off.
It was during the time that I had asked that the lights be lowered gradually. Well, Mr. Grappi started switching the lights, and he decided that light shouldn't have been off, so he turned that one back on again, and he turned the other light off. And then he started turning lights on and off, and suddenly I felt like I was in a light show.
And Pastor Neugebauer, before he did the readings that evening, said, "It's become our custom at Transfiguration to have a light show."
And everybody laughed, and it was really very cute and very fun, because Mr. Grappi just knows everything there is to know about this church.
The very first year that we did the imposition of ashes, I sprinkled some in 2 dishes and took them to each pastor and said, "Okay, practice," because neither one of them had ever done ashes before. And so they practiced. And Pastor Neugebauer does a real nice little smudgy cross on your forehead. Pastor Goebel can paint the Sistine Chapel on your forehead. So you kind of choose your row.
Events of 9/11, how, when that happened that day, the calls started going out, the congregation was called, and everyone came together that night for that special prayer service. I'll never forget it. To me, that was just the neatest thing, that we were all there praying for each other, praying for our families, praying for our country. And I thought, this church, the church strengthens us.
What impresses me about Christ the King and the members here is the tremendous spirit of volunteerism that has been in place since day one. I mean, from the charter members fixing up that little white house you've heard about on up to today. In looking at pictures of Spruce Up Day that we recently had, I was reminded of those pictures that I've been looking at. The same kind of volunteer, get it done for the good of the church and the school that we saw back then, we see today.
Marge Mabry getting on me for missing Sunday school when she finally was going to reach her goal of having 200 kids at Sunday school. This was in about 1982. And I stayed home that day, and she had 199. So I got a good phone call from her after that.
Potlucks. Potlucks are awesome. Are hands down the best.
When we first came here and we were in that little white house, we would have family night. There was always, I just loved the family nights here. Usually there were always potlucks, but then usually there was some kind of entertainment too.
I love how, cause I love food, I love how everyone else loves food.
To have the numbers people in our pews that we've had for so long is a very rare thing. Some of us who've been to other congregations realize that what happens here on Sunday mornings is a pretty special thing, and it's very rare.
Like, they should bring barbecue in.
There's like a whole table of fried chicken.
We would just go up to church, and I'd either do homework or we'd play in the nursery while Mom would practice or work or something. So this is kind of like a second home.
Meaningful worship services when I've been gone for a Sunday or two, and I come back and see all my church family again, and we are all worshiping together, and I realize what a great blessing we have here. Oftentimes when we worship Sunday after Sunday, we kind of forget what we've got, and sometimes stepping back and seeing what others perhaps don't have, when I come back, I just really celebrate twice as much.
I like wings, you know.
Y'all are all part of a family here, and you can call on the family when you have problems.
Salad's really good, like potato salad and pasta salad and stuff like that.
Everything. Obviously the worship is wonderful. We've got the two best pastors around, and the church family is second to none.
When's the next potluck?
There's not a better place to grow up. There's nothing better than having kind of the arms of Christ the King wrap around you and help you grow. It gives you so much more family, so much more of an experience of being loved.
Keep up the good work.